welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the game Halibut. Halibut, in case you don't know, is a claymation adventure game. It is kind of slow, but it's really well crafted and has a wonderful story that honestly at times can both make me think on what really is the meaning of what I'm doing, what's the point, and at the same time manage to find hopefulness within that. Meanwhile, it also manages to sort of have a lot of themes about, well, love and finding your own true way in life and not letting anybody else drag you down. It's a really good game and I really love it, and I think I'm just gonna talk a little bit about it today. Like always, I am not gonna tell you whether or not the game is good or bad directly. I'm gonna tell you what I like, what I don't like, what I think can be improved. And then you make the decision yourself on whether or not this is something that you want to play. Halibut takes place aboard the spaceship the Fedora after it crash lands on an unknown planet. And here is the thing. The planet is full of water, you're deep in the ocean. And from there you just go. You are Harold. Harold is sort of a handyman that works with a scientist. But the game itself is literally just a slice of life story about Harold. Now at times this game will take places outside of the ship and all of that, and it's all fantastic. But you are playing this game for the story mostly. I am genuinely impressed with how well this game is written all around. Like, every character has a dry sense of humor, like the really funny thing. You know, the thing that you are like, that is fucking dumb, but that's kind of funny. There's a lot of humor like that in this game, and I think it's all the better for it. It's a fantastically well written game. From Maru to one of my favorite examples, which I'm just gonna show you, which is the teaching section in the game. And I'll just let you see that section for yourself.
Where do babies come from, Mr. Harold?
Just Harold is fine. And, they come from two people.
Who are my parents?
Now, if that's also your kind of humor, I'll just say straight up, I think it's a must play for you. And that is really the thing with this game. It's really well written if you like the style of writing. Like, if you like the sort of dry humor-esque type of tone that runs through all of it, it can be really funny. However, there are segments of this game where it gets to be a lot more serious. Not as in you'll be doing anything. There's no real doing, as in there isn't a lot of pressure on you at any point. But there's a lot of storytelling. There is a lot of the sort of exploring somebody else's life and learning some lessons through it. My favorite example of that is the love letter that you get to read through, and the general letters that you get to read through to just see a speck into the life aboard the Fedora run from somebody else's perspective. You do that in a side quest following a mailman called Buddy, who isn't allowed to deliver the mail because aboard the Fedora it's illegal to notify people about the mail being missing, because if you have missed your mail, you're not allowed to receive any mail, and a notification would technically be sending you mail. So he can't like redeliver them, and he can't open them by himself because that's also against the rules about the Fedora. So he has to get Harold in there, because it's okay to open the packages and the letters, but only when somebody, a neutral third party, is there about, well, with the mailman. And I think it's such a dumb explanation, but it's like kind of funny at the same time. And then you get into the letters, and the contents of the letters are really quite special. And I don't really know, I can't exactly point the finger at it and be like, this is what touched it. It's just that I personally feel like these letters really kind of hit hard. They're really well done, in a sense that they actually do get me at least a little bit emotional. I'm just gonna allow you to hear one letter, the very first one, for yourself, so you can get a taste of exactly what I mean.
What have we got here?
Darling Arna, when the ship crashed, I half wondered if life as we knew it would collapse in on itself as well. It seemed like the pressure of the ocean surrounding us was pressing through the ship's hull, through to my very soul. And I wondered how any of us would find a new way to keep going on, even though our home itself had entered stasis. Then I realized something. Maybe it was slowing down, reconsidering my lot in life and on the ship. I realized that I loved you, that I want to love you. I know you will assure me I'm being foolish, and that you want me to have full happiness, and that said happiness couldn't possibly lie with you. But it does. Now, more than ever, we must look within and I give thanks to whatever celestial whim sent the Fedora tumbling down, for it has given rise to my understanding of what is really important. Arna, whether you love me back in the same way, just know I am, and will always be, happy to love you. Forever, you know who.
Something about the solemn piano music and like the letter being written out is just really calming and really nice. And that is the atmosphere that I think really captured the game. That is when it clicked for me what this was. You won't be facing any intense puzzles in this game. You won't be finding any sort of hardcore boss fights or any big monsters that are chasing you. This is all there is to this. It is all that, and of course there's one thing. There's one thing I haven't told. There's a lot, and I mean a shit ton of minigames. There's an entire cave with like 2 different games inside of the game you can play, albeit they're virtually the same thing. But they still exist and they're like slightly different graphically. And it's just either a fun time to play around with. It's nothing special. But there's a lot of smaller minigames within the game that you'll sometimes play, but most often this is what it is. You are listening to conversations, you are playing an interactive movie, more so than actually a game, in my opinion. Because there are segments in this game where, yeah, you will be running around, but a lot of this game can be running back and forth. And I know some people dislike that a lot. I personally don't think it's that big of a deal. It is just the type of game it is. It is not a game about getting you super riled up. It's not a game about having you run around, flailing arms, swinging, cock out, hanging. It is just a game about relaxing and just having a good time, exploring life as it is. It is a literally slice of life game form. It is just you step into the shoes of Harold on probably the biggest week of his life, and then you sort of step out of them again. The game existed before you, or like the universe within the game felt like it existed before you came, and it feels like it'll exist after you've left. And I'll be honest, this game does have segments that completely took me by surprise. It's not like it's super fucking predictable. You aren't stepping into a Marvel movie here. There are things in this game that, yes, can have me be kinda like, okay, I could see that coming from a mile away. But there's also segments where it honestly really catches you by surprise in a good way. For me, that is especially towards the ending, which is about 10 hours in, 9-ish hours in, you'll get to roughly the ending point of the game. And it can really catch you by surprise a few times. In regards to other gameplay elements, there are a few puzzles. Most of them are super easily solved if you just listen to what the characters are talking about. As an example, they'll tell you need to screw this thing up, then you need to screw the thing up. Like, there are a few things like that around the game. There is one though towards the end of the game that really does a quite clever switcheroo on. Because for me personally, and I think most of the people watching my content's lives, you have been sort of the tech-savvy one at your, parents' place. The one to always, help your parents or your grandparents with the iPads, the phones. And here it is exactly the opposite. You are now being put behind a computer you have no idea how to operate. Because it's in a completely different language, everything is fucked on it. You just don't know. And then you have to listen to somebody else attempt to explain it to you while sounding really annoyed at every little thing you do. It's honestly kind of a clever and funny switcheroo that I just really appreciate and want to talk about as well. And there's also another thing that I have to mention when it comes to this game. And one of the things that I really like about games that does that is it brings better mystique that games have lost for me. You see, I'm European. I'm from Denmark. I speak Danish. That was the first language I ever learned. However, I had access to games way before that. I just didn't understand what anybody said, so I had to rely on my mom, who at the time half understood it, translating it for me. Sometimes when she was interested in the game at least. And it sort of brought this thing in where I had to fill in every hole in a game, so I would never truly know the plot of a game. And it sort of just brought a mystique to the world, because I would never really know what I was doing, because I never understood the objectives. I would just follow the markers and learn visually, and that way eventually also I ended up learning English. It was all through like games and sort of all of that. And a game like has more than anything brought them back to me. The feeling of, and I think it is pretty cool. I love being put in a position where I'm like, what? And I think it's just something that creates this really nice gameplay element where it actually makes you as the player question the language that you are hearing. Like, what are they saying? What does the gloobly goob mean? Like, what is any of this? And that is not to mention that it is also being used in puzzles. Sometimes you'll have to solve these anciently written puzzles, and it's all, in my opinion, kind of nice. I love that idea of like using language as a barrier to like a puzzle. I think this is really cool, actually. Like, unironically, I know I'm laughing like while I'm saying it, but I don't mean this ironically. I really think it is super cool and it's super well implemented because it exactly does that. It puts me back into the shoes that I were when I was like 11 playing the first Borderlands game, and all my translation from that game was the visuals. It was the feeling, the atmosphere, the oppressiveness of that game. That is what got to me. I didn't know what the damage numbers or whatever meant. I just knew green good, red bad. Sometimes in Halibut you will hear alien language. And one of the things that I really like about games that does that is it brings better mystique that games have lost for me. You see, I'm European. I'm from Denmark. I speak Danish. That was the first language I ever learned. However, I had access to games way before that. I just didn't understand what anybody said, so I had to rely on my mom, who at the time half understood it, translating it for me. Sometimes when she was interested in the game, at least. And it sort of brought this thing in where I had to fill in every hole in a game, so I would never truly know the plot of a game. And it sort of just brought a mystique to the world, because I would never really know what I was doing, because I never understood the objectives. I would just follow the markers and learn visually, and that way eventually also I ended up learning English. It was all through like games and sort of all of that. And a game like Halibut has more than anything brought that feeling back to me. The feeling of and I think it is pretty cool. I love being put in a position where I'm like, what? And I think it's just something that creates this really nice gameplay element where it actually makes you as the player question the language that you are hearing. Like, what are they saying? What does the gloobly goob mean? Like, what is any of this? And that is not to mention that it is also being used in puzzles. Sometimes you'll have to solve these anciently written puzzles, and it's all, in my opinion, kind of nice. I love that idea of like using language as a barrier to like a puzzle. I think that's a really cool idea, actually. Like, unironically, I know I'm laughing like while I'm saying it, but I don't mean this ironically. I really think it is super cool and it's super well implemented because it exactly does that. It puts me back into the shoes that I were when I was like 11 playing the first Borderlands game, and all my translation from that game was the visuals. It was the feeling, the atmosphere, the oppressiveness of that game. That is what got to me. I didn't know what the damage numbers or whatever meant. I just knew green good, red bad. That was like sort of the logic I could operate on, because I hadn't been taught English at the time when I started playing that game. So it sort of makes for this really more interesting and unique experience where you have to guess your way a little bit. And I think it's really cool. And another thing I mentioned is the sort of existentialism that Halibut sometimes can have, especially this one segment that I'm not going to spoil. I'm not going to show the gameplay from it because I really want you to experience it yourself. But in that segment, you sort of end up, you think Harold is dead, probably. And then you sort of get into the segment where you see his life flashing before his eyes and so on, until it starts to put some questions in. What's the point? Why are you doing all of this? Because like I said, most of the game up until then has just been do this busy, but why are you really doing that? Why are you helping these people? What's the point of anything, really? Why not just do the thing that you want to do without, well, having anybody else judge you for it? Why not just, if you want to be doing your thing, why not just go and do it? And it really does display that, in my opinion, rather well. And it also answers it later on in the game with, you should do whatever makes you happy. And I think it's just a relatively cute and nice little message to have in the game. And it's like very well displayed through the writing especially. And I think on a deeper level, it really sort of touches with me when you hear a lot of these characters talk about some of, especially the body story, like that storyline, that side quest. if you play it, play Body's side quest. It's honestly a must. I just think it hits entirely different. I don't know what it is for me, but that just really made me smile a lot. And one last thing I do want to touch upon is the atmosphere of the game. It can go from feeling very comedic and funny to very sad and emotional, but it never gets to that point where it feels tense. And I think I can appreciate being able to tell a story like that without it. I think it's a nice little added thing where it never really gets to the point where I'm sitting on the edge of my seat. This is fundamentally a really relaxing experience. It really is, and it's only built upon further with the lovingly crafted claymation. Of course you've noticed it by now, it's all claymation and I love it. It's so cool. I cannot believe the amount of work this game must have taken. I know there's like the 14-year thing or 15 years of development for Harold Halibut, but I just think it's such a momentous task to deliver a game of this quality with that style. It's so cool. At times it's made me wonder how did they even do it? The backgrounds, everything. It's so fucking cool. It's just a gorgeous game all around, and from the figures to the backgrounds to everything else in it. The claymation work is honestly on another level, and I just have to say I fucking love it. Man, holy, it's just really good. If it's from the characters' faces to the animations when they move, to Harold just running the little stinky animations that he has, I love it. I love all of it. It's just really good. It's a really, really gorgeous game with a really well-written story. If there was one thing that I had to say about gameplay-wise that I could criticize the game for, and that is being a little bit too slow at times, because a lot of things are run from point A to point B and then run back again, and Harold is slow. It can take a while sometimes to get around, and it can be a little bit of a slow experience, and if that's a big turnoff, then that might be an issue. But overall, honestly, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I also want to just drop in and say the music is also fantastic, because, I mean, have you heard it? The background music that I'm playing is from Harold Halibut, but the OST is just great, from the main theme music to everything else. It sets the mood perfectly, and that mood's hold up from the entirety of the game. It's just that, and it's so great. I really fucking love it. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to my girlfriend for recommending this to me. I would have probably never found this game if it wasn't for her. And thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, I genuinely really appreciate it. If you have any recommendations for games or anything else, I will look at them. I might not take them up. I'm a broke college student. I'm not sure if I'll have the money for it, but I'll definitely be looking into any other games as well. But with that being said, I thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day ahead of you wherever you might be, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.